Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to another one of these dailies. So yes, we are still up here in Ware, Canada. I still decided just to kind of change my mind and stubbornly continue on through this whole region here because frankly, it was just too much fun. I wanted to go back and see the other stuff, and then just kind of came to a better decision of what if I just save that for New Game Plus? So I'm gonna just go ahead and skip the first two islands entirely. But I wanted to talk more about the fascinating strategy that's up here. So first and foremost, obviously, we have to start off with actually getting through this initial map that was giving some difficulties in the first place. See, I was kind of overthinking it a little bit. I kept trying to make use of the rando units that you get at the very start, and in reality, it was just better to go ahead and evacuate them and pretty much steamroll everything up there at their HQ right from the get-go. That's what we're doing right here. So first, I actually have to start with my one kind of gripe about this game so far. Because I wasn't expecting to actually complain about this, but when it comes to the pathfinding, you'll see all over this video that you're going to lose units to pathfinding. And what's funny is that it does directly tell you exactly where they're going to go, and it does make sense. I find it a little bit funny, and bear in mind I might be missing this option somewhere because back in OB64 there was a option for direct travel or fastest travel if you went down into the menus, and it basically just directly said, okay, do you want your units to always use the roads, or do you maybe want to consider doing it some other way? And sure enough, in this case, again, it might be an option somewhere. I doubt that it's never come up. Frankly, due to waypoints, you're usually doing your movement far more precisely anyway, so it's not really that much of an issue. But on more than one occasion, specifically, I've had cavalry squads get completely steamrolled because they decided to, especially on a map like this, go straight through our own barricades and into the other guys on the other side of the barricades like it's the frickin' ending of Game of Thrones or something. Why do we need defenses when we can sit on the other side of them? So yeah. That's a little iffy, though. If you look at the map right here, you can see why it's happening. There's technically roads there. You can kind of see the roads. They're covered by the snow. I really wouldn't want to go and march through deep snow either, but hey. Either way, it is what it is. Again, just pay attention to your precision movements, and you're fine. Now, one thing I didn't show off that I was meaning, I forget if I showed this off last time, but basically with this fight in particular, you really don't have to fight these two yellow squads. If you put down one barricade and then immediately follow up with a second one, you can cause them to go fight the other guys and just instantly kill them for you. And then, you know, I was about to go redo that trick, and then I thought, you know what, maybe I might need those two item uses for later. In fact, one thing I want to point out for anyone that's maybe not played this on Expert yet, if you're wondering why many of us are ridiculously excited about this game, it's a lot of it is the limitations that you see on Expert. Again, supposedly that's not a thing on the other difficulties. I haven't even tried them, but if those item limits aren't there, if the use limits aren't there, yeah, I can see why some folks would have found it too easy. But on anything below Expert, again, I wouldn't know. But in this case, dude, the strict item limits, the time limits, everything else, dude, it feels so freaking good. It's like it just feels fantastic. I know I say that every single time, but it really does. This is one of those just love not like situations. um, just because, again, limitations make for interesting strategy, and when you only have 10 items to spare, that basically leads to a point that you're trying to create a self-sustaining economy out of your valor points there, which means that you're occasionally going to be leaving respawn points so that you can go make use of those, but only enough to be able to still make use of them within the time limit. It's just a really, really awesome 4D puzzle that's going on there, you know? By the way, if there's any additional kind of sounds in the background, if anything's sounding different today, I'm trying to sit in a spot that's farther away from the chickens. For those that are wondering why there's constantly peeping in the background of a lot of the videos there, um, a lot of our chickens ended up getting eaten by a raccoon that was repeatedly getting into the coop and tearing them to pieces. So now that it has been dealt with, well, we're re-raising some new chickens. So they're all cheapy and stuff like that, and I like to keep them in the office. So, you know, they're nice and safe over there. But anyways, so that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the first interesting strategy here that I would have expected to come up more often, but the fact that you can do amphibious landings with mercenaries. So this is one of those things you can do with mines, barricades, whatever else. But if you spam click on the other end of something, and as long as there's just like a pixel perfect little square for them to go onto, you can go ahead and deploy them there. One funny thing about this is that you can accidentally deploy somebody into the mountains this way. So I have a permanently flying mercenary squad. Don't worry about it. That is technically to our detriment, and we do end up not getting that point back. I just found it really funny that they're over there. But this turned out to be a really convenient way to go get the catapult taken care of without actually having to go over there ourselves. So we don't have to worry about the barricades. We don't have to be taking that town in the north. And I keep trying to avoid pressing the buttons right now because currently, due to the fact that I'm recording this with the Steam Deck on handheld mode, this kind of feels like the dream scenario of being able to play this on the Steam Deck. keep reaching for the buttons like no, we don't have to hold B, except now it's A, so it's even more confusing. Anyway, so yeah, after we get through this fight, you'll start seeing why I wanted to still stick around this place and avoid the kind of standard progression, as it were. Because okay, I have a bit of a story to share here. So back when I tried Morrowind for the first time, so this was back with my my friends in school and everything else, and we had no idea what was going on. We got it because it looked cool, and we saw that it got awards and whatever else. I think this was after it got Game of the Year already, because I remember getting like the full collection box and everything. So we got it. We sat there for a couple days. We're like, oh man, you can do this. You can get like werewolves and crap. You can go become one of those. You can, do all this crazy stuff. And we get into it like just whoosh, just completely over our freaking heads, right? So we got nothing. Eventually, it just goes in the box. Don't see it again. And I don't try it again until years later. I'm living on a moving truck. Just barely got off that thing. And I find it in an old box of stuff I used to have. Once I get into this new place, I have this crappy laptop, and I just figure, whatever, I'll give it another shot. So off on a business trip and whatever else at this time, and so I'm figuring, okay, we're gonna give it a shot. Still no clue how anything works, but for whatever reason, I just decide to give it another go. To give you an idea of how completely lost I was on this thing, I had just gotten to the first mine in the game there. Where you get into a few fights with a few worms and things. And, well, was collecting a few things. And then ended up getting woken up while sleeping, and there was an attempt at assassination. For anyone that's never played Morrowind, one of the DLCs introduces an assassination mechanic, where they will repeatedly send assassins in very expensive equipment to go deal with you. Don't worry, we're getting to how this is relevant to Unicorn Overlord in a moment. But anyways, long story short, guy's weapon skill was non-existent. I had no idea how combat worked, but I decided to try just punching the guy out of frustration. And sure enough, he fell on the ground. Fascinating. So I continued punching the guy, and eventually he died. Anyone unfamiliar with Morrowind's combat system, basically punching reduces fatigue. That guy was basically carrying a bunch of expensive equipment with fairly low fatigue, because low levels and such. And so this meant that he was basically helpless at the power of unarmed slaps. Anyway, so this funded a brand new character to basically travel wherever they wanted to. And by total fluke, I wound up in the Solstheim DLC. Now, that area reminds me a ton, like the feeling in its entirety feels like what's going on with the entire Backstoria area here. I'm sure they're even based on the same kinds of myths, because essentially it feels the same way. You're just stuck in a place. You don't know why you're there or why you're stubbornly refusing to leave. But dang it, you will conquer this end game content whether it kills you or not. So yeah. That's just kind of where my head was at going into this whole thing, because it's really felt the same way of just like, yes, it's a struggle to get through. It's a struggle to find the little cracks to get through, to find the ways to get anybody's equipment or levels or anything else up there. And clearly, I keep forgetting to even give people their equipment. But dang it, we're gonna make it through somehow. So anyway. So anyways, yeah, as that went on, like, I remember the first time I ran into a Spriggan in that game, it was like a friggin' 2-hour-long ordeal. Yeah, it turns out you can slap trees until they stop moving. I just kind of entirely went to just slapping everything until it stopped breathing. Because, yeah, fatigue mechanics and such. Now, the reason that this is reminding me of it is, again, obviously, the visual similarities are clear. It's a constant blizzard, but I don't know, the overall challenge of it, that feel of being stuck in a place that you're not supposed to be in, the fact that it's still possible to find a way through. I love it so much. Anyway, so let me get back to Unicorn itself before somebody writes yet another angry comment about this. So effectively, the strategy that we're using here is to constantly spam healing rain over there, to just have the cavalry squad bounce around like a freaking pinball over there in their northern section. We're going to avoid fighting any of the furries as much as we can, and we're either flying over the mountains, sending in mercenaries, or trying to sneak in using hide. I did end up using the cloak in this case, and I know that I already have a spot reserved for my best squad there to go replace, well, just to basically add a werewolf to their team, just to be able to use a hiding flying unit at all times, just because being able to stealth ambush stuff feels fantastic. But even with all of this other stuff in place, frankly, that squad has zero shot against this guy. That squad up top there is pretty darn tough. They've got some pretty solid advanced units and whatever else, so it's just generally a bad time for them. But on the plus side, there is the opportunity to go seize the catapult before it's actually run out of resources. And on top of everything else, this also gives us the opportunity to go run in with the little horsies here multiple times. You know, same old rule as last time. That if you want to invade Canada, you have to go feed cocaine to your horses and run over your enemies. So, this is working out surprisingly decently. Like, honestly, you wouldn't think that this would go as well as it has done so far. But quick coffee break. Good coffee. Yeah, I saw somebody leave a message that I don't drink as much coffee as my name would suggest. You have no idea. Also, there's the one kill that Rui is ever going to get on any save file ever, due to the oddly specific scenario that let it happen. But he gets us almost maxed out on our VPs up there. So we keep on firing this catapult, and the idea right now is just to keep firing that thing until it's out of ammo. The birds and the cavalry both charge in at the same time. We use multiple charges to go and break down as much of their squad as possible, ideally running over their shaman. And then once that's dealt with, we can just send in everybody and just kind of run them over. That's the hope, anyway. As I said before, while it is cheesy to go and repeatedly use stuff like Cornash or whatever else to constantly get your points up, it by itself is not what's making all of this possible. It takes a lot of stuff to make it happen. Literally, it took siege equipment and multiple squads that were, well, look, even after all that, they took 2 bombardments. They're in the red. And still, our best squad is not enough to actually finish them off. So we end up going and employing the rushes, as you do, which finally got us past this whole thing. There were other ways to go about it, but my entire team comp is a bit more or less about hit-and-run tactics. There's not a whole lot of outright tankiness here. This will actually become relevant a bit later, because I am rebuilding part of the team to be a bit more tanky. Of the 3 main squads, currently we have the Griffin guys that are basically meant to do this. They fly in, they spam Wild Rush, and then they go in to finish something. We have the Cavalry Squad that's for more general purpose, kind of ground-based hit and runs and calling in the mercenaries. So they're effectively there for the more standard approach there. And then for Lane Squad, I have them running a bunch of defensive equipment, entirely built around using the AoE ability on the Snow Ranger there, to finish off a party if they can manage to survive a fight. So either way, it works for the most part. There are other squads in there as well, like I got a healer squad that's a bit more defensive and whatever else. They're not quite where I'd like them to be yet, especially the one that's meant to be doing the whole druid caster and beef wall thing. That one just refuses to operate so far, but once I get the right items to make it work, we'll make it work. So my idea here was to try and send in more archers to assist with all of the shooty type of business, but so far it has not been doing as I was hoping it would. They just didn't end up getting there in time, which is fine. Also, another interesting note, as far as the behavior of the mercenary squads, they'll actually follow the one that ended up summoning them as best they can, but if they get taken out, they'll just kind of hang out wherever they died. So, this gets us the Trapper Warbow, which gets us basically creates the range squad that I'll be using from now on. Anyway, I guess more sniper squad, but whatever. Archer support is the main deal here. Now, part of the reason that I'm doing this video now, because originally I was planning to cover all of the end of the Bistoria area and just kind of give a general overview of it, but there were a lot of moments that I wasn't expecting. So for one thing, this was probably the one time that I ever saw a moment where they had one of these games where they did the fake out, oh, I'm not joining you, and you actually kind of believe it, because this lady has been, for lack of a better term, an absolute bitch up to this point. Which is intentional, like, they're supposed to trust no one, that's their deal. Actually, okay, another little side note that you're going to notice a couple of times during this cutscene that I really, really love in terms of their attention to detail. Every time they flip around, look at their hands. Like, they're not just flipping the sprite, they actually switch hands. This applies, and I know that this isn't new information, we were talking about this a few videos ago, but, like, the fact that they do this for everybody, like, anybody with a shield will go and switch hands, anybody with a weapon will go ahead and switch hands, like, everybody's ambidextrous around here, apparently. But it's an interesting way to flip the sprite, but not really. Oh, I guess we're not going to see it in this cutscene. We're definitely going to see it a bit later, though. Alright. So, this gets us this whole area, as you do. I was very tempted to just kind of leave her patrolling this place, but it felt unreal. For some reason at the time, I felt like it would be kind of a dick move. Like, they just told everybody they're going to leave. No, you're going to stay here. Though, I love this detail, okay? The town that is entirely like foxes and dogs and such, they love to, all they need is a giant pile of sticks, and they're happy. Because they love to go fetch sticks. We'll see later that the town of cats will be happy to get their place back up in running order with a shipment of fish. Like, I don't know if that's furry racist, but either way, it's just kind of funny. Also, we get more of these spell steel weapons. They're basically improved versions of runic in some ways. Like they'll give you those types of attacks and whatever else. They won't necessarily actually improve your... they won't give you the magic attack ability or anything like that. I don't know if that actually matters in terms of the weapon being swung itself. I assume not, but honestly, I got no clue. But yeah, so there's this other town with the cats. That's just going to want a little, a little delivery of fish. It's just cute, you know? Like, oh, what do you need to fix up your town? Dude, just give us some fish. We're hungry. Alright, so this was another one of the cool ones that we were doing here. Also, Trogdor Garrison. But okay, they have one of the fights here that literally just takes place in the middle of a blizzard. So you're just going around exploring blind. Now, this is something that Fire Emblem has done a few times. I don't recall it ever being this fun, though. Like, they've got a bunch of ambushes and whatever else, and come to think, but I think this was even in the GBA Fire Emblems. Like, they've been doing this kind of thing for a while, but it never, usually they're pretty annoying. I think this is the first time I've seen a vision obscuring mechanic that I'm actually kind of enjoying, because normally that stuff is, like, just the pits, but, and then the foxes get 10 billion attacks off, as they do. And yeah, the owls are really good for boosting passives and all that. So far, I'll be honest, I know that there's going to be a lot of potential for them. I haven't really seen a whole lot of good results out of them yet, but oh well, we'll see. But yeah, this Blizzard map was so cool though, because you're just going around in like big old formations, trying to cover as much ground as possible. Like I was going and putting out kind of support mercenary squads to get additional visibility and whatnot, but you lose them in the snow. Like it's cool that they actually will be there, but that their sight cone is much more limited, and then also if you don't see them, they won't report to you. It's such a good detail. And yeah, there's one owl squad just in the middle of the map, being inexplicably the hardest thing to actually uproot. Probably more than likely because I don't have a team that's actually built for dealing with these guys very much. But yeah, their sheer amount of passives is pretty nutty, as you'd kind of think here. And I've also kind of decided that once we're done with this sort of not quite review, but just checking out individual sections of particular areas thing, I wanted to do a first proper, like, full playthrough or whatever else of this whole thing by doing the True Zenorian mode there, whatever that consists of, because folks have told me that apparently it involves not being able to use any of the Cornash functions at all. So that sounds really exciting to me, because that means that there's going to be a lot more potential strategy layers to it. So that's good times. So we'll see what happens there. Oh, okay. This was the one moment so far that kind of pissed me off as far as the story went. Because it was the usual, hey, look, we found a MacGuffin. Oh, no, it was a trap. Also, I'm just going to magically solve your problems. It's okay. I know you got a ranged weapon, but don't shoot me. Kind of situation. Very Saturday morning cartoon of him here. This sort of becomes plot relevant, and it's very clear you can't avoid this particular situation, though there are situations later that will somewhat be different here. Though it is absolutely believable that lion will get his ass kicked in this particular situation, because he has barely been utilized by this team, and I guess he's a king or something. I don't know. So he was off going and living in Elden Ring land or something, apparently. No idea why or how, but everything in this area seems to love its pile of bodies visuals. So there's that too. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, okay. This was another moment that I'm kind of curious to see whether this will kind of come full circle here, because I'm not. There's a moment towards the end of this conversation where Ramona here is kind of set up as a kind of mom character to a lot of the characters that you're seeing here. In her case, though, she finds them under suspicious circumstances. She knows a lot of that about their background, and also at the end of this conversation, she starts saying a thing and then stops saying a thing. The way that they have it set up is like this is supposed to be a emergency reveal for later, because basically they're barely veiled hinting that her necklace is the same thing as this shiny blue rock thing that they're chasing. But okay, so I hate the tropes in it, but that being said, if this owl lady ends up being a traitor, I'm 100% on board. Because it's also kind of potentially readable as she's a traitor. I really hope so. Yes, I always love me a good betrayal in a story when it's actually set up. But in this case, I don't think they will, but it would be cool if they did. And they're all off to Narnia or whatever. See, right here. Like, I was going to tell you something, but we gotta go. I mean, we're going to march for, like, days at this point, but it's fine. I don't have time to tell you. Oh, they're Ultra Marines! Oh no, they came from space the whole time! I don't know anything about Warhammer other than it's funny. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to other goodies here. Apparently all they need to fix up this town is gold and herbs. They need, I don't know, money and drugs or something. Did change the logo, though. But I somehow missed that there was an owl there, so yes, I have an owl and a robot hanging out with the Raven's Nest icon. Oh, I love it. And then we get Earthquake Staves, which, come to think of it, I never put this on anyone, did I? Well, high priority Earthquake Wizard coming up as soon as I have a second to do so then. Can't believe I totally forgot to set that up. Alright. New kind of a sigil trial kind of thing opened up at this point, and man, the trials, I know that the trials are mostly just like grind spots with a bit of fun, but I love how they always kind of make you chase it. They won't just give you the wins from those trials, and they're kind of useful for going and power leveling your people obscenely quick. Which is a nice little failsafe, but I love how in that case they just actually have you going through this little gauntlet of very particular fights. You won't win it if you just send somebody out, but it's a very easy but dramatic fight, as it were. Also, this was definitely somebody's kink. So that was a support conversation between Yennefer here and Elaine. You know that this was somebody's kink. She's like going around just sniffing everything all the time. Kind of cracked me up. Oh, okay. So, this one. I was going to execute this guy, but then I figured, you know what? I don't have another hoplite, and I could kind of use one right now, and I thought he would come in all trained. It's like, nah, I don't want to be hired. He executes himself. I love that. Okay, weird to love that, but just the fact that they had that trait up there gives the guy a lot more agency. Again, this game does its character moments well, even if its plot is mostly just there to make stuff happen. The character moments have been good. Again, constantly surprised by those. But this next fight, I heard some people tell me that I absolutely needed to get over here to go find this thing before leaving. And yeah, so they have a fight over here in the western part of the island, and you're thinking like, okay, there's this whole huge section, and they're like this fight basically is several fights mashed into one, if you choose to do so. Because you have two guys that both have a valid point in terms of who should win, and you can side with either one of them and have a fairly easy fight. However, there's a third option if you choose to go approach the fight from the middle, where you fight both of those fights at the same time. And I saw that I was like, "There's no way I'm skipping this," and I was thinking, what they suggest that we're just going to bum rush in there, handle everything as we usually do, take on one side, then deal with the other. Man, in terms of mechanically dense maps, just like look at this absolute cornucopia of mechanics as soon as we get in here. Like, okay, coffee break. Okay, so you've basically got the bear squad up here in the north. Uh, they're coming out with heavy cavalry. They don't have any flyers, but they do have a bunch of foxes, right? You got the wolves on the south. They're coming in with support, just like support fire out the ass. It's absolutely comical when they're going and approaching you with one of their big death balls, and it's just like, okay, your ace squad is getting killed off without even getting an attack off because there's just so much support fire that they're getting melted. So we'll get there when we get there, but I figured first approach right here, like there's a yellow guy. I'm gonna go try to go through some barricades in front of him. Maybe he'll go and fight the north there. He's actually just kind of hanging out in the woods. You don't have to worry about him. The bears to the right, though, I didn't think would be much of an issue. They are definitely an issue, but we'll get to that in a moment. I have one specialized anti-beast squad because we really haven't had a need for more than that, since usually the anti-beast squad can safely take on one of the beast squads here. They can usually the other two can go mop up. One flies and goes for leader snipes. One goes for defensive plays and kind of draws in the foxes and such. There's three support fire squads that are set up, and additionally a few others that I'm still working on that basically can't touch anything out here. That'll be fixed when I have a chance to do so. Limited time, limited sleep, all that kind of thing. Though I will say, as a bit of a side note here, this game has made me love the Switch Lite. Where up to this point, I was kind of iffy on whether it would actually do its job. But a combination of the fact that I got it for next to nothing, on top of the fact that it's actually a pretty solid dang device. It's hard to describe a lot of the little details. Like the buttons not necessarily being as clacky is definitely appreciated towards the end of the day. I haven't noticed, my wife getting annoyed that I'm going and clacking buttons. I'm going and showing up back from work at like 2 a.m. and just want to sit down and play for a minute. So that's been nice. This whole recording off the screen thing I thought would be a complete pain in the ass, but it's actually kind of fun to do it this way. So, anyways, folks didn't seem to be bothered by this new format, so hopefully this continues to be fun. Anyway, so yeah. So I figured, okay, we're going to go ahead and break the bridge. We're going to break through here. We're going to go deal with the ballista down there. At the moment, I didn't notice the ballista on the right. So mechanically speaking, we've got stealth forests basically everywhere. So later on, I'll try to hide some support fire in those forests. That comes back to bite me in a kind of unexpected way, but we'll get to that. We've got two ballistas that are right nearby. We've got several support fire towers from the wolf side. And from the bear side, we can basically hard counter every unit that they've got there, but with only one unit at a time. So the overall play seems to be to send the Griffins, while speed boosted, to go and take out the towers one by one, send out the cavalry to take out the ballista on the right, use the ballista along with some barricades to essentially set up a points farm while the Griffin is going and taking out their support fire towers, and hopefully picking off some infantry, probably using the camp over there, and everybody else is just kind of dedicated to supporting that one tank squad that's hanging out at the HQ. No amount of barricades seems to be enough to actually hold at this point. Like, if somebody had infinite items at this point, if they were on an easier difficulty, there'd be like 7 layers of barricades up there. Um, so yeah, item limit is probably keeping this thing sane. We probably would burn through our entire stack of mines. So I kept trying all kinds of different approaches. Like I tried sniping the bear first, so I had sent the flyers up there. Unfortunately, they actually prepare for this, and as soon as you get close, they go and they hide all of their squads in the forests. You saw that earlier, in order to try and ambush your people. So you're stuck with a thing of like, do you spend a point and do you give them an owl to go spot everybody in there, or do you spend one of your item points to go deal with it? I sent out those support fire squads, but they also will send out smoke bombs to go deny that support fire, which is freaking awesome. Like, I love when the AI actually reacts to the stuff that you do. That's awesome. As far as I can tell, they will only fire the smoke bolts in the case that you actually have some support fire units out there. So spreading those out might be really useful there. The one thing that I didn't realize at the time was just how many units would be coming from the right as opposed to the left, because there's constant fox squads coming in from the left, but they're not really too much of a threat. But the constant bear squads are a regular issue. And actually, I did have an answer for this that I didn't end up utilizing yet. Which was to go send out a thief squad to go take the bridge to deny the reinforcements coming from the bear squad, because essentially a 4 thief squad is able to dodge enough to more or less just take even trades against however many units they send out. Which also means that if they end up all bundling up into one giant ball, you can use a couple mines to take out like 7 units at once. It's crazy. Anyway, like again, the absolute scale and like mechanics and everything else of this map is fucking nuts, man. Anyway, also I love how they toss their shield and somehow miraculously catch it in the opposite direction here. Well, I was kind of curious why this cavalry squad was able to finally take out these sorcerer squads, like, or warlock squads rather. Like, the warlock squads were absolutely wrecking people. They've got access to replenishable 5-man warlock squads, which is, I believe, what we can go ahead and pretty comfortably jot down as some bullshit. Because look at that death mob down there. Like, even the A squads are not even touching anybody before getting annihilated by the sky suddenly going dark. So that's fun. So yeah, that was the first reset. Very nice moment of, here you go, just shove this humble pie right down your throat. Anyway, so I tried going for the other approach here of trying to go for a wolf snipe. It seemed like it would be relatively possible, but then I didn't realize where that death ball came from. And that's going to be our next issue here. So the death ball actually deploys about 30-odd seconds into the fight. So I was thinking we're going to go take out the bear squad, and then, you know, they won't have any reinforcements for a little while. They absolutely do. Like, one mistake here, and you're going to see everything falling completely to pieces. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and speed them up. I'm trying to conserve their items as much as possible, just due to the fact that they need barricades and all this other stuff. I was hoping to toss with that barricade, I messed up the angle. The original intent was to go and throw that bear squad up to go fight the yellow bears up there so that we can maybe do something with that. But I'm thinking thief squad over on the bridge is probably the ideal way to handle that. Due to, again, a lot of support fire coming in, anybody that tries to go south is going to have a hard time. Every time that I'm looking at the mantlets and the towers and everything else, it reminds me of one of the scenes from Band of Brothers, where they're just going in and just everything's bombed out. There's just, you know, friggin' bodies everywhere, just fire coming in from all directions. Like, yeah, that kind of looks like a medieval version of that right now. But yeah, so yeah, 2 armies at once. Man, whoever was talking about needing to try this map, you were so right. This map is incredible. This is probably my favorite map in the game so far, and it's not even close. So I tried to do that amphibious landing thing from before, because rather than sending the Griffin squad, which I was hoping to use the Griffin squad to take the right and use mercenaries to take the left, there isn't really a whole lot of a lot of issue on the left side. It's mostly just that one tower and then a few infantry squads to the south, so if I could just send in a giant blob of mercenaries, they might be able to get the job done. We can basically use the points gained from that to replenish the mercenaries, so, you know, it could be a solid approach. And during that time, we would save a lot of time by sending in the Griffins to go deal with the right side, potentially go for a leader snipe on top of doing a wild charge snipe to maybe clear out that whole area down there. A few more mechanics were discovered in that process. So, again, sorry for the odd cutting back and forth, you know, nature of the beast, as it were. So they ended up taking about a third of it, which basically means they're going to take out about half of it. This moment right here is where I fucked up. I put them behind the steeple. So that was a completely wasted point, and believe it or not, this actually will be the thing that causes that particular point to fall apart. So we're going to send in another one, because those three should have been enough to take out that tower and deny the support fire, which then would allow for charging the cavalry through to hopefully take the ballista. They still ended up taking it, but it was more item intensive than intended. There's the death blob. See, the death blob comes in response to crossing the bridge, it seems. There is a ballista there that if you can take it fast enough, you can start firing them down with a ballista, but you're also getting constant reinforcements coming out of the right side, so at the same time you want to be trying to go and at least wound the leader there while you deal with the death blob. I was thinking, which I know, you know, as my wife likes to joke, don't think. It's dangerous, you might hurt yourself. but but I was thinking that when you ended up taking the wolf guys out, that they would stop fighting. This is not the case. You actually have to go piece by piece and dismantle their whole operation on both sides. If this has a bad ending, I will be very happy, because it absolutely should. So yeah, technically all you got to do is take out the two leader squads, but being able to get to both of those is a problem. So I had a few backup plans here, right? So I was figuring the south is going pretty well. We didn't manage to succeed in taking the tower. You know, that time fell apart. We weren't able to actually take the wolf guy down, and I needed to approach this another way. This right here, I believe, is the first moment that this ended up getting a reset due to pathing shenanigans. I believe so. Yeah, there he goes. You can already see the mistake that's getting made. So yeah, the cavalry is supposed to go and charge in towards the ballista. Due to pathing shenanigans, he wants to follow the path along the river, and instead he ends up getting turned into mincemeat. So that goes great, you know, as they do. He just runs straight into a brick wall, and it doesn't go well. So we're just going to go ahead and reset that one real quick. Because, yeah, there's no coming back from that one that early. So, new plan was to hide support fire in the woods. Use a couple of smaller squads to hold off the bear advance there. Now, I didn't take this far enough. Again, I had the basic ideas of this plan, but I didn't quite take it far enough here. So, what I should have done is, again, take those that thief squad over there and use them to control the bridge. A lane squad can easily handle all of the foxes coming in, and we don't have to worry about that top left flank very much. The griffins can quickly go take the bridge, and then go down to secure the south towers. If a thief squad gets up there, they can basically take trades against these bears all day. Like they can very easily deal with all that stuff, so it should have been a way to barricade it with just very dodgy units. How that works on a technical level, I don't know. But the one thing that they would have to watch out for is those catapults. Although if they're moved out of the way, the catapults can potentially just smush their own units, so that should theoretically be amazing. Should allow for a lot of free kills there. But I was trying to go for this point, kind of point farming strategy here, where the plan was to capture the ballista, send the archers in to man it. I didn't know if the archers actually get any bonus damage for using it. I don't think so. Certainly doesn't feel that way. It feels like a set amount. But yeah, the general plan was to use some barricades and other things to redirect units towards the ballista to just give us some free points to go spend on mercenaries or whatever, right? So we're going to start working on that, and then I was sending Elaine's anti-beast squad to go deal with the foxes. So hopefully they can cut down some furries along the way, deal with the foxes, go deal with the bears, and then take the town over there. What I didn't expect is that the AI would actually not respond to this very much. As in, they don't really try to recapture that town for whatever reason. They keep trying to go for your HQ, and if you leave the yellow squads completely, uncontested there, they won't really do much to you. In fact, they might end up being helpful. So, so either way, there's that. One thing I did need to do here what I should have realistically done is have two squads, just have the cavalry ready to run in and finish these guys. Unfortunately, didn't quite happen. And in fact, there's already a few squads I have in mind to help deal with the situation because I still haven't set up a priority earthquake squad yet. So that's also something to hopefully deal with swordmasters and such. Anyway, so okay, so we see that the ballista is able to go and use the beckoning bell here. I remembered later that I specifically sent the archer squad in because they had provoke. So if you use provoke on just the sorcerer squad, you can go and basically bait them straight into the ballista so that they're taken out before they can be a problem. The ballista can easily shoot them down before they get too close, and it basically can replenish itself on points more or less. So that's one way to deal with the sorcerer squads. It's not a perfect solution, but it is one way to deal with them once the actual capital is dealt with. So the plan ended up changing to use the Griffin to go take out the left tower, then clear out the two units on the bottom left there, take the campsite, as long as they're able to get full kills on each one of them. So they take the campsite, then they go deal with the southern towers, hopefully a combination of mines, barricades, and the ballista is enough to keep the south at bay. Elaine keeps the entire north at bay. One thief keeps the bears from the right at bay, along with their own catapult. And oh my god, have I mentioned how much I love this map yet? Because I unironically love this thing, dude. This is awesome. This is exactly the kind of thing I play these games for. Somebody took these concepts and they made them amazing. Good lord, there's so much going on. Granted, the one downside of going and trying to explain why I love this so much is the freaking furries, but yeah, whatever. You know what? It's a little weird when you look at it, but from a strategy perspective, it is absolutely miraculous what we're looking at here. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of neat and stuff. Also, we can just kind of teleport everybody back and forth using the old deploy thing, as you do. So yeah. Is good stuff. But yeah, lots of scouts. Obviously, just deal with them using anti-beast stuff. The reason that it works is we've got Beast Slayer on Unify there, along with some stuff to go boost her general points and whatever. So she's taking away a lot of their points from doing a lot of their flippy bullshit. But anyways, yeah. So provoke onto ballista. Ballista does the shoots, and yeah, hopefully they deal with all those. Barricades plus ballista equals those things get shredded, at least for a little while. So that's nice there. I really thought that this one was going pretty darn well. Like we're actually shredding those squads. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to a couple bits and pieces, which is what's going to cause an issue for us in a little bit. I shouldn't have put those archers in the woods. That will also come back to bite us in a little bit, as well as a badly timed rest. But what I should have done is to trust those thieves that are hiding in the woods, because they will do a pretty darn great job. But yeah, I was trying to get my my two kind of main ground combat squads rested up. The Griffin was trying to get in there to do some stuff. I kept sending them in wrong directions and whatever else. They were trying to go deal with one of those Warlock squads, but they needed a rest because they were almost completely tired out, and frankly the Ballista was doing that job anyway. But yeah, Guillermo and the friggin' dancing flamenco squad over here just basically able to take no damage from these bear squads, so yeah, can have that problem sort itself out. Using a combination of range support and their dodging, they can do something like this. Also, the little dee-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo that they do at the intro here, it sounds a whole lot like one of the kids' toys, so it always kind of makes me look in the background like, oh, hey, are they playing with? No. No, they're asleep right now. I would hope so, considering, hey, it's like, 2 a.m. or whatever else, and I'm sitting in a drive-thru, but okay. Anyway. So yeah, needless to say, this one is complicated in the best kind of way, so you love to see that kind of stuff. I did try deploying the healer squad to go assist a little bit. I'm thinking for this better version of the strategy, I'm thinking to actually put the healer squad up there on the top left, and then move a lane squad up to basically guard that little pass up there. So one thief squad over to the right. Well, actually, first we do all this stuff with the wolves and whatever else, right? So we deal with the wolves. We crunch away all their stuff, and then when moving up, we just have a lane supported by those what the hell are they? Healers. There we go. Turns out that's a concept. But we basically have healers in the tower, a lane up there blocking the left, which should stem the tide of the Fox units. Bear squads are already dealt with, meaning that everybody can go down the middle. We probably would have to deal with that bear yellow squad over there. But then eventually the town on the right gets taken, at which point the thieves can actually get redeployed to where the yellow bear was. In fact, probably could use him as a bit of a barricade until then, to again continue serving as their role of a meat barricade, as it were. Like, as long as they're not resting, they're near unkillable. By many of the squads, anyway. Obviously, they will send out variations every now and then, and you gotta adjust some stuff. I just love how much stuff there is to figure out. It's just a giant puzzle that's constantly shifting. So yeah, it's just a great time. Like, again, I've seen comments and whatever else over like, oh, you know, there's ways to go get busted items and whatever else, and yeah, I'm sure there are, but also I'm having too much fun strategizing. I don't want the busted items. So, in the words of some poet or other, le fuck that. This is fun, and I am enjoying it. Alright. I forget how long this ends up going, because there was another bit after this, I remember, but I don't remember what it was all about. I have no idea. This was just constantly just retooling this approach to this particular map. Like, I already have a few squads in mind I want to go and put up there the next time I have a quiet moment. But those moments of going and retooling your people, it feels very Armored Core. Like, I know that the comparison should be to something like a Tactics Ogre or an Ogre battle in that case, but this legitimately just feels like that same feeling of hanging out in your garage for 3 hours in Armored Core. I was just like, okay, that one guy did this one maneuver over there, and I want to be able to prevent that in the future, so I'm going to go swap out this one part, which will give me a little bit more speed, which means I can get an angle coming in from this direction, which means I should be able just to, like, go and cut that dude in the knee. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I love thinking about, you know? Feels good. So, I tried another approach here that was just, what if Elaine kill everything? So, obviously this one, he got steamrolled. This was just the end of this fight, but this is what ended up inspiring another thought to go and do it a little bit differently. So I redid our main beef boy over here to be a bit more evasive. I don't really know why I had him with low priority and a stun immunity item. Nothing seems to be stunning around here, so I figured, screw it, we'll throw that out there. Anyway, so the plan was to use 2 squads and a hell of a lot of points. So they go and they take out the ballista. Actually, in retrospect, swapping out one of their units for Hodrick here and just using Fortress or something like that would have been way easier than even dealing with the ballistae. Which, frankly, somebody told me there was ballistas, ballistae, and multiple ballista. Apparently, I guess all versions are considered correct by different people, so I never looked it up, but it's probably worth doing nothing with that information, because what's it useful for? It's not something you come in contact with that often. Okay, so this one was also another failed attempt, but 2 things ended up happening. We did end up taking out the wolf guy, which clarified 2 things. For one thing, taking out 1 leader does not do anything to their unit count. They will still be coming at you with absolutely everything, but additionally, very OB64 problem there with having a hard time making a very slight adjustment to their angle. Anyway, so okay, we know that we get an item for beating the guy, but we also know that okay, it didn't record back as far as I was hoping it would here. But they actually didn't notice that the capital had even been taken up until I went and redeployed this squad over there. I had actually originally deployed the thief squad to go hold it, but they've got nothing against these wolves here. So I redeployed the Griffin squad because they were doing a good job fighting stuff there, and immediately they got recognized. So essentially, the place was just not drawing aggro. They didn't even realize it happened up until I sent somebody else over there and it drew attention to it. So apparently, that's a thing that can happen too. So that was unusual, but a very welcome surprise. And so I was thinking I was going to turn this around. One of them's injured, one of them is resting. We're just going to be able to shred everything with the cavalry. Unfortunately, this was not the big turnaround that I was hoping it would be, because I thought we would be able to deal with the death dot and everything else, but unfortunately, no. They're just going to come in with all their archers and sorcerers and everything else, and the support fire hell is going to begin. What I needed to do in reality was probably barricade that off and then send in a couple squads to go do the ballista thing from before. But again, that part of the plan is still being worked on. But anyway, that's everything I had for this time. So thank you all for listening to me rant about this awesome game for a little bit, and yeah, the next one will probably be... I'm planning to go straight into endgame after this particular continent. Also, apologies that I keep calling them islands. I just keep thinking like the Battle Frontier for some reason. Anyway, so that'll be about that. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.